What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a move that DBs cannot guard from a wide receiver. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it can teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you guys want to get better at reading defenses, you want to understand why DBs play coverages a certain way, how to diagnose those coverages, how to read those coverages pre-snap, check out that very first link in the description below where you guys can get access to 2-hour-long weekly Zoom calls with myself where we break down the wide receiver position, talk about football IQ, and talk about how you guys can apply these concepts to your actual game. So if that sounds like something that interests you, check out that very first link in the description below if you want some more information on that. Let's get started with this video. So now, first thing I want to talk about here is going to be a rocker step. So what is a rocker step? I think Justin Jefferson probably has the best rocker step in the NFL, and we're going to break down exactly what that is. So a rocker step can be used, I think, on anything past 5 yards that involves just a single cut. So routes that are past 5 yards involve a single cut or maybe a dig, an out route, a post route, and a corner route. That's when I like using this rocker step. Now, a rocker step is where you kind of build off of a single speed cut. So you see how Justin Jefferson here is running like a dig. Rather than him just cutting off of his outside foot, giving a little head and shoulder fake, what he does is he takes a hard inside step first. So you want to step in the direction that you are going first. So how I'm going to play this video is I'm going to kind of break down the mechanics of a rocker step, why it works, and then we're going to talk about the different situations that you can use this rocker step and how you can build off of this, okay? So with the rocker step, like I said, it's a two-step break at the top of the route. It's a hard inside cut, outside cut, or vice versa. Hard outside cut, then inside cut. It's 2 steps at the top of the break. So when he gets to the top of the break, you see how he takes this hard step inside. That's the first part of that rocker step because we were trying to make it look like an out route, a corner route, something outside breaking to try to get this DB to bite. That's why it is very important that you take a hard first step. We do not take a soft first step. It is a hard, sudden first step because now I have to push off of that first step to sell the outside on my second cut. So you see how he takes this quick first step, shoots it in the ground, he pushes to the outside. His hips and his shoulders commit to the outside, and that is what's going to get a DB to bite to the outside. Because especially when we stack a guy, especially when he's trailing behind me, he is going to be watching my hips. So on that rocker step, it is very important that when we take that hard jab inside, we sell to the outside and we turn that entire upper body. My upper body needs to be loose while I'm still taking a hard jab to the outside to create separation. So a rocker step, it's 2 hard cuts. Make sure that the cuts are in stride and make sure that that first cut is sudden inside your frame so we could push and sell to the outside to create space. Like this on a dig, on an out, on a post, or on a corner. So let's play this again, full speed one more time, and then we're going to break down when to use this thing. So great job by Justin Jefferson showcasing that rocker step. Okay, so now next example here is going to be from A.J. Brown, and he is going to be doing this rocker step on a post route versus off coverage. So last example we talked about, and this is why I think the rocker step, when you guys use it correctly, is one of the most unguardable moves there is. Because if you know how to use it, you know when to use it, you know the mechanics behind it, no DB can stop this because we don't give him a choice. He has to react to something. And if we sell it correctly, he's going to react wrong. So you see in this example here, it's A.J. Brown against Diggs. Diggs is in off coverage. He's maybe about 8 yards off. We have to run like a quick bang 8 post. And then the last example, you saw that it was inside shade press coverage and we had to run a dig. Both situations, we can use this rocker step. That's why it's such a great move. So let's play this full speed. Let's watch what A.J. Brown does here. Closes the distance, hits him with that rocker step, widens Diggs, and then is able to catch that post. So that's another perfect example of when to use this. So we get to the top of the break. Same idea. What are we trying to make this DB think we're doing? An out route, a corner route, something breaking to the outside. So you see when he does this first move here and he puts his foot in the ground, it's a hard cut. It's not an over-exaggerated cut. He's not reaching outside of his frame. It's just a sudden cut inside of his frame. Because the most important cut is the second cut here. We have to sell like I'm going to the out. We have to sell with my hips, sell with my shoulders. That's the only way that's going to get this guy to bite or to move off of his platform. But that first step has to push me to the outside. So I like this, like I said, against off coverage. I like it against zone. I like it against press. So let's go back to the very beginning here. What if he had a zone coverage concept? Like, let's say more like this probably is zone coverage, but let's say it's more like a true zone coverage look that you might see in high school or you might see in youth ball, where this DB is facing to the inside and he's got his front hip pointed towards the wide receiver. How can you use this rocker step? What you would want to do is you would want to close the distance with him, try to step on the toes, and then use that rocker step to threaten the blind spot of the DB. When his front hip is turned here, you want to threaten the blind spot with that rocker step. That's how we can use it and run the post. He's off coverage like so, but he's head up, right? This is not shaded outside leverage. This is more so like head up coverage. So if he's got head up coverage, I go try to step on his toes, and I use that rocker step to hold him to the outside. Creates a bigger window for me to run that post. Let's say, for example, he's inside shade off coverage. We could attack his outside shoulder, trying to get his hips to flip, and use a rocker step at the break to get him to jump and slip under him. You can use this rocker step in any given situation, fellas. You just have to make sure we understand the mechanics and know how to sell it. So let's go back to that example of Justin Jefferson then. So how does he use this? Pre-snap, what is he thinking? How is he going to use this rocker step? So we have inside shade coverage. It's press coverage, right? It's on the line. It's definitely man-to-man. So we would use this rocker at the top of the break when I restack it. So my game plan off the line should be, okay, I'm going to attack his leverage. We're going to try to get him to hold to the inside. You see how Jefferson gives this little stutter to the outside. Get this DB to hold. Take the free outside release. So many times wide receivers are afraid to take an outside release on an inside breaking route or an inside release on an outside breaking route. And this rocker step is a great move that you can use in that given situation. Because again, we got press coverage right here. DB is trying to take away the inside. Inside shade trying to take away the inside. He does not want us to run a post, to run a dig, to run a slant. So he's trying to do whatever possible to protect us to protect his leverage pretty much. So if I got to run a dig, run a post, that rocker step is a great way to do it. I'm comfortable here. I take what he gives me. I take the free outside release. Now my main goal is to stack him. So when I stack him and I get him trailing my back hip, that is when I can use that rocker step. That is when I can sell to the outside, make it look like an out, make it look like a corner. This is not a move that we only have to use when it's off or zone coverage. I know especially a lot of you guys are younger wide receivers, youth ball, high school ball. You're probably used to just getting zone coverage over and over again. But when we get that press look, especially that's something that a college coach is going to want to see out of you, you got to have a plan. You got to make sure you're prepared to attack that press coverage defense. And this rocker step is a great way to do it when we stack. Let's play this thing again. Let's play that A.J. Brown clip one more time, full speed. And then we're going to talk about how you guys can use that rocker step on something like a comeback route when it's a little bit more unorthodox. So this is Justin Jefferson running a comeback route against zone coverage, right? So on every single route, like this is kind of a very creative way of running routes because this is not something the regular wide receiver does. This is not something that, you see all the time. This is a very, very creative way to use a rocker step, but also to sell a fade. Because there comes a certain point, fellas, where wide receivers it's very repetitive what we learn. You're running a comeback route. What are we trying to make the DB think? We're running a fade. I'm trying to get him to backpedal as fast as he can, open up his hips and run so I can snap it down and get separation. Now, sometimes you might face a talented DB who that's not going to work against. Maybe he's got good recovery speed. Maybe he's got great feet, whatever the situation might be. So I need to bring other tools to the game. I need to use tools that I have in my tool belt. And we know a rocker step is a move that I feel every wide receiver should have in their tool belt. So how would you guys, let's think about it like this. You got zone coverage here. He's way off, maybe about 8 to 10 yards off. Outside leverage. You got to run a comeback. So one way you could run this comeback is you could push up vertical, attacking his inside shoulder, maybe try to get him to flip his hips, work to the blind spot and snap down, which is essentially what he does here. Or what we could do is we could close the distance, use a rocker step cut to threaten the inside to make him think we are running a post, maybe get him to crash down, then slip to the blind spot and go. So that's kind of the more creative version. We don't want to just run at him and then go to the blind spot. We could run at him and give him a move and then get to the blind spot. And this rocker step, if this is something that you've worked throughout the game, maybe it's something that you've sold a couple times, you've ran a couple post routes, dig routes off of a single cut, this can open you up. So it's a way, he's pretty much selling two routes in one here. So he's coming up, selling fade, running full stride. Now, how would you run a post against this coverage? You would close the distance, you'd make a hard cut, maybe try to threaten his blind spot, then go, right? So that's what he's trying to make it look like. He breaks off his outside foot, throws a jab to the inside. That looks like a post. His hips and shoulders sell. The whole goal of this is to get that DB to crash down. And then when we slip behind, have him overreact, either speed turn or open up slowly. But that opens up the comeback route. So it's a way for him to make it look like a post at first, then make it look like a fade, and then run that full comeback. Because you got to think of it in 3 separate parts. How would I run a post on this? Then how would I run a fade on this? And if you're running a comeback and you would run a fade, you're going to try to get that DB to sit post so we could slip behind. I'm running a comeback. I know I need to make every comeback look like a fade. I make it look like a post here, slip to the outside, and then snap it off and run this route. That is a very, very creative way to run that comeback. And again, it's all set up off of things. This route is set up off of him running a post. This route is set up off of him running a fade. And now when you can start pairing your routes together, that's when we get real dangerous as a wide receiver, fellas. You guys shouldn't have 20 different moves for the 9 routes that you run. You guys should have maybe 5 or 6 different moves that you could all pair into other routes for the 9 routes that you run. Because honestly, fellas, most of you in your playbook, other than hitches, slants, 5-yard ins, 5-yard outs, you're probably running maybe 4 routes. You're probably running posts, probably running a lot of corners, a lot of fades, and especially the outside guys run a lot of comebacks. So you got to find a way to those 4 to 5 routes that you run. How can we make them look similar? Because when we make those look similar, we get in the DB's head. He does not have a plan. He is just simply guessing. And when we can get a DB guessing every snap, eventually he is going to guess wrong, if not every time. And that's how big plays happen. That's how we can be a big playmaker. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great example here of how you guys can use that rocker step in a little bit more creative of a way rather than just using it on a post, an out, a dig, or a corner. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you guys would like to set up 2 weekly Zoom calls with me that are an hour long where we break down wide receiver football IQ, how you guys can improve your football IQ, when to use different releases, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you on those calls. I'll see you guys next time.